must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.
Very good morning to you, and thank you so much for joining us again. This is the People's Court. My name is Miriam Ogutu, and of course the television station is Punchline Africa TV, where we endeavor to highlight what is happening on this continent. And so our topic this morning is, do academic papers make up good leaders? And I'll just read a bit of some information on the Star newspaper on the date of the 17th of June this year. You hold fake degree and want to run for office. I think, again, the story is on page 7. And on the 18th of this month, the Standard newspaper, degree rule, DP in bid to save a leader. So we shall look a bit of those stories. But as we know, the electoral body here in Kenya, IEBC, has directed that it would only allow candidates with degrees to run for elective posts in the 2022 general election. Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Chairperson Wafula Chebukati said candidates' academic qualifications will be subject to validation before they are presented by the candidates to IEBC, and those who have not graduated will have enough time to graduate before the next election. He added, Elections Act Section 22 mandates all candidates vying for president, governors, members of parliament, MCAs to have a minimum of a university degree from a recognized university to vie for election. And the section states that a person may be nominated as a candidate for an election only if that individual holds a degree from a university recognized in Kenya as a member of Parliament. And Deputy President William Ruto is the latest senior politician to want the clause that requires MPs and MCAs to have degrees scrapped and allow all Kenyans to vie for political seats. So do academic papers make for good leaders? And this morning, to help in this conversation, I'm joined by Douglas Kirimi from Meru County. Douglas, a very good morning to you.
A very good morning to you, Miriam, and also to my co-panelist, Professor Jared Onyari, and also to Dr. David Matsanga, and also to our viewers across the world. Thank you for having me on the show, Miriam. Thank you.
Okay, very well. And we also do have Professor Jared Onyari. Prof, a very good morning to you. Okay, so as we wait for Prof to join us there, I think we've also been joined by Chevan Karanja. Chevan, a very good morning to you.
Indeed, it's a very good morning to you, Miriam. Good morning to our viewers, wherever they're watching us from. And good morning also to my fellow panelists. Thanks for having me on the show.
All right, it is a pleasure. And I think this is a conversation we've been itching to have. Myself, I really have wanted to hear your thoughts about this debate that has refused to go away. And we know what the law says. And Chebukati is saying nobody will be allowed to vie next year until they meet that qualification according to Elections Act in this country. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll just start with you, Chevan, then. Do academic papers make for good leaders?
Thank you very much, Miriam. And this conversation for me is it is a two-sided conversation. One, I'll say from the onset that academic papers don't transform to good leadership. Because if we go by the current breed of leaders that we have some of them who have the academic papers, some are PhD holders, but they have not performed exemplarily well. They have not shown leadership. They are not men and women of integrity. Therefore, to that extent, I don't see academic papers qualifying or transforming to a person to be transforming an individual to be a good leader. In politics, Miriam, there are guys who have interest in politics, but they have not gone to that high level of education. And they are very good. They know how to articulate issues. They are very good mobilizers, and they can make good leaders. So in that regard, I see it fit to give these guys a chance. If they have gone to Form 4 or other training or any other training, Miriam, apart from the degree holding, they need, because when they be in office, they can employ those who have degrees to help them do their work. Okay. Number two, Miriam, we can also have a training or a center.
Just one moment, Jevan Karanja. That could work in other sectors, but we are looking at people who have the responsibility to legislate, craft laws there in Parliament. So we have to look at it from that perspective.
That is where I'm coming.
Okay. So they can't go hire somebody to do that for them because they're supposed to be doing that in Parliament.
Now, in that regard, now, that is where I'm coming. Mm-hmm. They need anyone who is aspiring to become a leader, like Douglas Keremi, who is aspiring to become an MCA in Meru County. They need to be taken for training, maybe for 1 year or for 6 months. Anyone who is aspiring to become a politician, to go through a training where they can get basics on how to legislate, on how to make laws, on how to good communication skills.
Okay, we seem to be having a bit of
on how to debate, and some of as members of county assemblies or as members of parliament, they need to have that training. Because, Miriam, we have MCAs who have been there and they don't have these degrees, but they have been MCAs for 2 terms, Miriam. These guys, they have the experience. We have members of parliament who have been members of parliament for 2 or 3 terms and they don't have these papers. They have the experience in parliament, more experience than the newcomers with who will come in 2022 with this PhD, Miriam. Therefore, I don't see this thing. We need to have a training where we can incorporate leadership skills to these guys, Miriam. Okay. Miriam, how does a hospitality degree holder or person who have done forestry management, Miriam, or oceanography, Miriam, all these other courses, how does that relate with politics, Miriam? We need to have a course specifically for aspiring leaders and for politicians so that we can have leaders, Miriam. Because if we go with our degrees, Miriam, to parliament, that will not transform to good leadership. We need to train leaders and to go through a course, Miriam, where they will be trained on basics, on what it means to be a leader. Because anyone, Miriam, with their degree, they can go to parliament. But that one will not transform this country. We need leaders of integrity. And Miriam, when you come to the ground, there are guys who are known. They are very good leaders, men and women of integrity, but they have not gone to that high level of education, Miriam. And they can make good leaders. Why are we laying them away instead of incorporating them in this system? Right. I think these are debates that will continue taking shape. But for me, academic papers does not transform to good leaders, Miriam. If the kind of leaders we have in these countries are the likes of Kalonzo Musyoka, Miriam, who don't have political stand, are the likes of Deputy President, a PhD holder, who for now has absconded his duties, and he is busy running away from his duties and sabotaging his own government, Miriam. Those are not the kind of leaders that we need. We need leaders who we can test them, who we know them. They are men and women of integrity, with or without these degrees. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Douglas Keremi. Do academic papers make for good leaders?
Miriam, like Jevan said, and other people have said across the country, this is a conversation that needs a multi-sectoral approach as far as these papers are concerned and everything. For example, I don't understand how someone who has studied forestry management, like Jevan is saying, who can debate me in the floor of the House, whether it's Senate, wherever it is. I don't understand how they are going to convince me. I don't shoot their budget down, that the work that they have worked from the committees and also presenting to the county assembly, for example, county assembly of Meru. I don't understand how someone can come out of the woods, someone that has studied hospitality management for 4 years, all they know is kitchen approaches and all that. But when it comes to budget making, when it comes to their work in committees, because whether it is county assembly, whether it is national assembly, whether it is senate, all these people, their work after now the podium has been taken away, they go back and work from committees. And I want to let Jevan know that you cannot be able to delegate your committee work to a degree order so that he can be able to do that for you. The budget making processes and every committee, whether it is a security committee, when you're discussing county security issues in your in security committee, you cannot delegate that to an administrator, someone that understands security issues. It is a multi-sectoral approach that we need to use when we need to do that. And also remember, most of these people who we are taking to National Assembly, county assemblies, and Senate work from committees. That is where the real work begins. This is where policy work starts. And this is where oversight work starts, and registration and also representation. There are specific representational roles, Miriam, that do not need the shouting that we need from politicians from the podiums. There are representational issues like raising statements in the county assembly. For example, our people have suffered for so far too long. Our MCA is supposed to know that he or she needs to be able to raise a statement and ask the minister for roads. Then the speaker or the presiding person, whoever will be presiding over that sitting that day, will raise that statement with the minister for trade or minister for land or minister for environment, so that people can be able to get answers. Those are representational roles. When we are coming to the issue of making the roles, we are making roles and we are not making roles, let's say in Kimeru or Kikuyu. We need someone that can be able to come out there and craft a role that is not going to affect the present and the future, but it is going to protect the present and the future. And when you look at it, Miriam, and also the oversight issues, when you're given a budget of 10 million and told that this money has been spent in different projects in your area, and this is the sheet that has been able to use over 10 million shillings or 20 million shillings, that MCA, that MP must be able to come to the same, read balance sheets and also be able to translate that balance sheet to tangible work that has been done. So we need to be able to have a multi-sectoral approach when we are dealing with this issue of academic papers, because there are people who I know in the county assembly of Meru that have degrees, and those degrees have not saved even a single constituent from where they come from. Okay. Those degrees have not been able to save them, Miriam, from whatever we have seen being fried in the floor of the county assembly. They cannot utter a word to save themselves. Right. And also, before I conclude my point, let me come on this point. Our MCA, the late MCA, was very good at lobbying for projects and all that, but she has never stepped into standard 8. She's a standard 6. She was a standard 6 dropout, but she was very able to go out there, lobby for projects and bring development to the people. So whether she went to school or not, the people will not understand that. But when it comes to the work that she has been elected to do in the floor of the house, she was not available because English was a problem. Okay. She was an academic dwarf that could not be able to marshal her own intelligence on the floor of the house to be able to do a legislative work, oversight roles, and also representational roles, Miriam. So when I say it is a multi-sectoral approach, we need to be able to, there is a place for papers and also there is a place for the other people who are talking about people who are not educated. Right. You cannot be able to oversight properly, read balance sheets and also read whatever budgetary allocations for your people and argue that your wards or constituencies or for senators, your counties are marginalized if you cannot be able to properly read those budgetary allocations and also talk to those equalization fund committees so that they can be able to allocate more to your county. So, this is a multi-sectoral approach that we need to be able to approach these things. But at the end of the day, education is important. And also, as Jivan has said, as I conclude on my point, Jivan has said that we need a specific training that talks about budgetary finances and all that, so that our MCAs, our governors, our senators and members of National Assembly will be properly equipped for the role. For example, an hospitality graduate, a person who has studied how to cook and how to manage hotels, cannot competitively debate me on the floor of the house. How can they debate me on the floor of the house? I'll shoot down their ideas and make sure their ideas do not see the light of the day in the county assemblies or whatever place we are debating, Miriam.
That is
my point.
That is an assumption, Douglas, because from how I understand it, when you go to school, regardless of what degree or what course you're pursuing, what school does, it enhances your level of comprehension, That's number one, from where I understand it. So regardless of whether you've studied being in the hospitality industry or being a lawyer or being whatever it is, whatever education you have pursued, education is able to open your mind. Douglas, you're laughing. And you're able to have a good level of comprehension. We are joined by one educated gentleman by the name of Dr. Joseph Nyanchaba. Doctor, a very good morning to you.
Oh, good morning, Miriam. And my fellow panelists, I can see clearly, Professor, and
all right, yes, and Professor there. So you might help me.
Oranja.
Yes.
Bring me this chance.
Mm-hmm. So
firstly,
go ahead. Do you believe
for me?
Papers? Yeah.
Oh, you were posing a question to me?
Mm-hmm. But just answer that and then.
Can we repeat the question?
Yeah. Do you believe academic papers make for good leaders?
Of course, it does. If you listen to Professor Pierre Lehmann, he argues that education is not confined on time and space. It's a constant search for knowledge founded on insatiable curiosity. Having said that, Miriam, for me, I think even coming up with a legislation on a degree is a narrow perspective. If I was to be asked to give my own opinion, as I'm giving through this forum, in fact, the whole thing should have started from Parliament, where they pass standing orders and they say, Parliament legislates or discusses legal issues through committees. Then from committees, they come with minimum qualification. Before you sit in a certain committee, if it is agriculture, you must have, for you to sit in that committee, you must have a degree and have this, a degree should be general. But you know, there are other key competencies. You don't need to tell people that they must have degrees. Once now they see the requirement in Parliament is that every committee you have to sit there, you must have a degree. What signal does it send to you as a prospective member of Parliament? In fact, you will withdraw yourself without being pressured that even if I go into Parliament, I may not participate at any level. That is for me the kind way of putting these people who have not reached the standard 7 off. If you are a company, you set your requirement. Parliament is failing. It should identify how many committees are there in Parliament. They pass standing orders. If you have to sit each committee, these are the requirements. These are the key competencies. Then they are sent to all prospective members of Parliament or county assembly. They will withdraw by themselves without unnecessary pressures and heat, which is unnecessary. Education is key. For example, Miriam, you can say you cannot sit in a committee to fetch an officer who is intellectual superior to you. Of course, already they know you cannot sit there. And you know, members of Parliament, they go there to earn allowances. They will in fact pack up and go home by themselves. I submit, Miriam.
Okay, so before I bring in Professor, there is one post by one Silas Chakakimba on his Facebook page. We know him, he's a lawyer here and a close ally of ODM leader Raila Odinga. And this is what he wrote yesterday. He said, stop it. You can't say you are okay with your MPs being non-graduates, non-diploma holders and school dropouts and still expect the same lot to interrogate policy gaps, propose changes, discuss and approve the budget and apply the intellectual wherewithal to bring change through legislation. An MP should at the very least hold a diploma, if not a degree. MPs do their work through committees. An MP must be able to functionally oversight, legislate and represent. Professor Jared Onyari.
Thank you, Miriam. Thank you, Miriam, for that good question. Miriam, if you know how to write, if you know how to write and read, you can write your name and you can read, and you can communicate, and with wisdom, Miriam, you can read people. President Daniel Arap Moi was just a standard 8 graduate. See what kind of leader we had. Some of the institutions we have in this country, name them. Sunshine, Kabarak, Sacho, name them, all those ones. He's someone who never went to school, but see what they do. See someone like Tom Mboya. Which class did Tom Mboya reach? It was only from 2. But not even professors of Harvard will take on Tom Mboya when it comes to economic planning, Miriam. But the mistake which Kenyans we did, Miriam, we went to our constitution, Miriam, and we said the role of an MC and the role of a member of parliament. And then you say your boss is supposed to be a graduate, that's a president. Then you say a governor is supposed to be a graduate. And then we tell that it comes around, then you oversight this person. Some will not oversight you as by the argument of Dr. Nyanchama, which I have said myself with, and I buy Miriam. What does it say? Honest, let us be very open, Miriam. I am a graduate. You are not. You are oversighting me. You are asking me questions. Miriam, let me tell you for this, Miriam. You know Professor Nyang' Yong? Yes. When he was the minister and he was being asked by members of parliament, those who have never been to school, you frame a question, and then Nyang' Yong turns around and they say, if I were you, I could have asked this question like this. Will you ever ask again another question, Miriam? So it goes without saying, Miriam, let us not beat around the bush, Miriam. And we had the opportunity with the BBI. These people are running, tangling around the country, Miriam. Without this, they could have gone to the constitution and we say, let us expand the oversight role from the members of the county assembly and members of parliament. That's how a civil society goes, Miriam. So long as the oversight, Miriam, you must be of knowledgeable person to the person you are oversighting. And that's what Dr. Nyanchama said. After having said that one, Miriam, no, do you know the work of a member of parliament? Yes. He oversights, he makes laws. Miriam, so if now you don't understand into a certain level, Miriam, we are making some technical laws, Miriam, the technical people are advising us. Miriam, if you don't understand, surely, how can you make laws? You go to represent people, Miriam. This is not, you represent people, they oversight, they represent people, and they register Miriam. So Miriam, it goes without saying, I don't want to give the qualification. If the president, you are the person whom you are going to impeach is a graduate, then Miriam, it goes without saying you must be at par, or if anything goes now. In fact, Miriam, let me just even be serious and not. If the governor is a graduate, then an MCA or an MCA must be having master's level and above. That's now you can be able to understand, Miriam. See our friend Dr. Samuel William Ruto is saying that you are denying some people the opportunity, Miriam. How do you understand even the budget allocation, Miriam? That this one is going to go this is going to do this is going to do this. Remember the topic even we were discussing in the morning about having 30 guards, security guards, Miriam. How do you understand, Miriam, if you are not exposed, Miriam, to see the number of the resources which is required in the world, Miriam? Miriam, let me even tell you this. I've had cases, Miriam, where you are a graduate and you are a wife. You know that? And then your husband decided to drop at standard 8 or Form 4. Even when it comes to the house, Miriam, you are discussing, even when you are honest, saying something without belittling this person, Miriam, anaona unamdharau kwa vile umesoma wewe unafanya hivyo nini? So Miriam, if members of parliament, it is either, Miriam, when I have seen advertisements going on, Miriam, to be very honest, it says this are required, a graduate to be a chief justice, you have to do this. Miriam, if you don't meet the qualification, why do you apply? Will you apply? So we are saying that members of parliament and members of the county assembly, your work is to legislate. Your work is to oversight. Your work is to represent people. So to represent people, these are the number of qualifications. Miriam, do we complain that you don't meet qualification? Do we go to court to tell the court that now you see these people are very discriminative? I wanted this job. I don't have qualification. Miriam, we have been very gracious from 2010 to have been pushing on. This matter should come into a conclusion. And Miriam, so long as we are having members of parliament and members of the county assembly oversighting Miriam, they know what kind of a level of education which you are going to do or are going to have. I submit.
All right. Thank you so much. And sometimes I've seen Kenyans have conversations on social media, especially when you look at the quality of debate, because when you look at Parliament, the National Assembly and the Senate, according to the statistics we have, is that Senate has a lot of our senators are more educated compared to the ratio that we have in Parliament. So when you look at even the quality of the debates, it's quite, they differ. But I'll digress. Let's go to page 4 of the Standard newspaper on page 8, on the 18th of June. This is what they carried out on page 4. Ruto backs B to scrap a decree rule for MCAs and members of Parliament. Deputy President William Ruto has backed a fresh bid by lawmakers to scrap degree requirements for aspirants in next year's general election. The new bill by Elgeyo Marakwet Senator Kipchumba Murkomen seeks to amend Section 22 of the Elections Act 2011 that made a university degree mandatory for those seeking to run for MPs and MCA positions. Murkomen's bill lists ability to read and write as the only requirement. And the Elections Amendment Bill 2021 in the Senate comes barely 2 days after 2 petitioners moved to the National Assembly seeking to have the House appeal the degree requirement. And I think, Douglas, you gave us a very good example of your later MCA, who she was very good on work on the ground. But when it came to legislative or oversight work in the House, she was unable to express herself or her views or represent her people in that regard because she could not do that due to her inadequacy. And we've seen somebody like Oscar Sudi, who, according to National Assembly records, have never debated, have never uttered a word on the floor of the House in Parliament. And Doctor can give us a whole story about his academic background. I'll not get into it. But this new bid, is it really necessary? As long as you can read and write, that's it. That's all you need, Douglas.
Miriam, when you look at this issue, a person that cannot be able to represent their people properly, which is their role, they are elected to represent their people. They don't even know that most of the questions that they would be making trips from one department to another and causing a lot of alarm and also wasting a lot of resources. I don't understand how an MCA should leave their home in Kiago, where I come from, and go to every department following up on issues that she can just wake up on Tuesday morning and go to the House and release a statement, and then the Speaker promises the Minister will be here by Thursday to answer those representational queries over their people. When it is an issue of land and people are being displaced and all that, the government is not fast tracking all those issues, title deeds and also land crashes and all that. You can raise a statement directly. If it is the issue of ECD children, which is a devolved function, actually the nursery school kids and the abolition blocks, you can stand up in the, you can raise on a point of order and raise a statement on the floor of the House and say that the people from Kiago are suffering, the children are suffering. There are no abolition blocks made, the arrangements that have been made by the county government of Meru. They should be able to access abolition blocks, access food, access porridge, and access better running environment. That is classes. You cannot move from one minister to another. You can directly go to the floor of the House because it is your work and raise a statement. But if you are handicapped mentally or academically, you cannot be able to make those issues and raise them, which is your role, representational role. When they are debating about a role, to be able to ban the public from doing business from ward to another, and everything. That illegal law can pass and deny your people an opportunity to be able to sell their farm produce from one ward to another. In the ward trade and business promotion, you can pass a discriminative order or a discriminative law concerning all against your people based on your lack of understanding for the same. We are not saying that lack of education is bad, but you can pass a discriminative law because you just woke up in the morning and went to the floor of the house and the house is voting and you said, I vote yes. When you vote yes, you vote against your people that elected you enormously, in huge numbers, massively, to represent them. So, Miriam, that's why I'm saying that basic training on what they are required of is important, because when you go to the floor of the house and say that you can be able to follow, the Minister for Roads is your friend, it's okay. The Minister for Water is your friend, it's okay. Minister for Environment and Sanitation is your friend, it's okay. But at the end of the day, when the push comes to the shove, you need to do your 3 roles competitively and go outside. Actually, the County Government number 17, County Government Act number 17 of 2012 says that an MCA can go outside their 3 laws and use their skills and networks, and also can use their education to be able to help their people. Why would you wait to go and follow up with over 17 or 20 ministers on issues that you can raise on the floor of the house? So, Miriam, this issue is something that we need to be able to look at properly, because who tells me that my MCA for over 3 years worked in those committees competitively, the way we center, to be able to work for and behalf of the welfare of the people of Kiago Ward? We need to be able to look at that and also distinguish between being aggressive, which is a street mat, and also being properly equipped to be able to work for your role. And I want to agree with Jevan. Everyone that is aspiring for an office, they should go for a basic training, maybe at government, the school of government and all that, to be able to understand what they are expected of. Because I understand a majority of our county assemblies, they just wake up and vote. They are voting machines, and they just say, I vote yes. What you are voting yes against is against your people, is against the welfare and the good of your people who sent you to parliament, who sent you to county assemblies. So, Miriam, when you are an MCA and you are in the county assembly or you're in national assembly and you are telling us you're constructing toilets, you're constructing roads, you're constructing boreholes, you're doing this and this, that is not your role. That is the role of governor. And our MCAs don't understand that. And the members of parliament don't understand that. Your role is specific registration, oversight, and also representational roles. Today, if someone has an issue with their land and it has brought clashes in the villages, it is the role of the MCA to raise a statement in the house. But our MCA will just say that is the work of the police, because they don't understand their work is representational. They have to play a role in the same. So, Miriam, when we talk about people who have no academic papers, we are not talking about degrees or diplomas and all that. We are talking about basic understanding of the roles they are expected to play in the National Assembly. We are talking about using their faculties, using their intelligence, using their persuasive skills, because Parliament is a house of debate. You are speaking for and behalf of the welfare of your national. For example, I'll give an example as I conclude on my point. The secretary roles of 14 that were brought to National Assembly, a member to the Jubilee Coalition of that time would just wake up and yes. But that has come to be to the present day Tanga members who are bona fide members of Jubilee Coalition and subsequent Jubilee Party of Kenya, Miriam. Why? Because they didn't take time to study the roles and its consequences when the role is taken to the other end and you're not on the same end. So, Miriam, when you look at the 2014 security laws, those security laws were supported by members of Jubilee Party today who are suffering under the same laws that they passed from Parliament because they just woke up and say, I vote yes. Besides voting yes in the National Assembly, County Assemblies and Senate, you should be equipped properly to understand the legal consequences, the social consequences, economic consequences, and also political consequences of your voting yes on the floor of the House. Okay. Representational oversight laws cannot be just left to anyone because, Miriam, if you have no basic understanding of what is done in the National Assembly, County Assemblies, and Senate, we have a huge problem. We are not discriminating against anyone. We are just saying they need to be able to undergo a proper training that can go to between 6 months to 1 year. They can understand that induction that they go to Mombasa for 1 week or 3 weeks is not enough. It is not enough for them to understand. If you are put into a legal committee of the County Assembly of Meru, you can be able to properly register it and properly represent your people, because mostly they work through committees. So if my MCA never worked through committees, it means the people of Kiagu Ward, Mr. Road, except the governor has constructed 1 or 2 roads here and constructed a few roads here, and the MCA will say, I'm working. You're not working. It is the executive office of the governor that is working. You are helping him to work, and your work is to oversight what he has been able to deliver. Miriam, thank you.
All right, thank you so much. So Ruto said...
Miriam, may I say something before I step out?
Let me just read this and then you say something, Professor. Ruto said the legislation should not be seen as an attempt to deny Kenyan voters an opportunity to have the leaders they want. So Wakenya wanataka hao wenye hawajasoma sana. To put the requirements of MCAs same as that of the members of the National Assembly, senators, governors and the president is unreasonable, said Ruto while addressing MCAs from Baringo County at his official residence in Nairobi. That was on the 17th. Murkomen argues that making academic papers a requirement for elective positions would lock out many people with leadership attributes. And true, I've seen some people who are very great leaders, but might be academically challenged. So do they have a point here, Professor?
Miriam, I want to persuade my fellow Kenyans. I want to persuade my fellow Kenyans, Miriam, that even the work of just a plumber, Miriam, you have got qualification to enter that place, Miriam. And let me tell you, MCS, let me just even be more critical on this. Members of the County Assembly are even supposed to have more qualification than members of Parliament. Do you know why? The centers of development in this country is they are in charge. They are going to, you know, they run a government of a county, a replica of the national government, Miriam. So if we have some malady in terms of their level of education, Miriam, those counties will just drag behind, Miriam. Hear this, Miriam. And you can now appreciate why we need to have certain levels of education, Miriam. Don't you think this law we are talking about qualification was meant way back in 2011 or 2012? Was it not being done by the members of Parliament? Were they aware not what they were passing, Miriam? They were sleeping, as just Douglas has said. The law was passed, and then you saw what happened, Miriam. Let me shock you. When they have passed the law and it has gone to the president, now the president is giving assent. You know, Miriam, they went to the president to cry what they have done. And this now you can understand, Miriam, a certain level of education, Miriam, can put you in trouble. After having said, Miriam, was Dr. William Samoei Ruto member of Parliament in 2011, 2012? Can we go to the Assad and find out what he said? When did he come? Yes, he was in the Parliament, Miriam. And the Assads are there, Miriam. Do you want Miriam to go and use it because of convenience? Miriam, it can't work like that, Miriam. I have given them a simple advice, Miriam. If we don't want them to be graduates, Miriam, or a certain level, even you are talking about they go a refresher course so that you can. Well, how can you come overside with a refresher course, Douglas? We expand the role of oversight. We give it to other people, professional people who can oversight. Period. You cannot insist that you want to oversight. You oversight a graduate and you are not one. Miriam, go even those organizations whereby your boss is having lesser qualification than you. All the time is at loggerheads with you. Because he wants to use muscle and thorax to instruct even when things are wrong. And if you think, Miriam, I'm lying, see some of the governors we are having in doubt that they might have bought papers. You know, the Rex of Songo, the Rex of Waititu, The rights of there's another one from Taita Taveta. Give him a paper speech which he has not written, which has been prepared for him. Let him now read. You will say, oh my God, how did this person find himself there? So the point I'm trying to say that, Miriam, if you don't have proper education and you are oversighting someone, you are supervising somebody, Miriam, it doesn't work. We can argue until the cows comes home. But the point I'm trying to say, if they want to take an oversight role, Miriam, they must be graduates and above. And if we want people who can write and read and write, Miriam, let us remove the oversight role from them. And we will be at home. That's the kind of conversation we are supposed to have. And trying to say, oh, we can take them for 6 months, never. When you want to become a B1 teacher, Miriam, you must have a C. There is no debate, there is no negotiation.
True.
You want to become a Chief Justice of the Republic of Kenya, you must have practiced more than 15 years and above, Miriam. There is no debate or negotiation on that. So with the point I'm trying to say, that you can't make rules if you don't understand. You will be sleeping. The same members of parliament are the one who passed these laws. Sio mimi na wewe. Hawa ndio walipitisha. Ni kwa nini hawakuwa wanaelewa? Well, now the reality has come. And in fact, Miriam, hear this.
So that's why we needed.
We have given them more than 10 years, Miriam,
so that they understand.
So that you become a graduate. So in the future, Miriam, and this country does not have shortage of people who are graduates, Miriam. If you want to read the people, that's the way. But there has to be a conversation. Do we want to leave an oversight role with them? Yes, fine. If we retain it, have this qualification. If we don't have it, we add BBI. They could have proposed so that we remove that one chairman from the constitution. The oversight role cannot remain in the constitution. Na tena harabu watu waanze kutuambia now you can go to court, you can now petition Murkomen and the deputy president. They are becoming petty.
Okay.
I submit.
Miriam, can I make a rejoinder to what Professor said?
Before you come in, Douglas, because I also want to hear from Jevan and Dr. Joseph Nyanchama, and then I'll come back to you. Just a quick one. On the National Assembly, we do have 114. That is the number of members of Parliament with a diploma. 140 of them. So 10 MPs with at least 2 degrees, while 5 are still pursuing. 134 MPs who hold a master's degree, with 4 still pursuing. That is good. And 34, that is the number of MPs who have PhDs. 25 have completed, and 1 an honorary doctorate, and 8 are still pursuing. And in the Senate, we have 57 senators with at least 1 degree. And 9 senators without degree. So in the Senate, we only have 9 of them who do not have this degree. And county assemblies prepare to battle to take the battle on degrees to court. Still on page 4 of the Standard newspaper on the 18th of June, the County Assemblies Forum is now headed to court to seek reprieve after the elections agency ruled that all candidates in next year's general election must have a university degree. County Assemblies Forum Chairperson Degwa Wahome said that they will file a petition in court by Monday. But that is not just something that the IEBC said. That was something that was in the law, and I think they were allowed in the last parliament to run, but they knew very well it was required for the 2022 general elections. And as Professor there has said, Jevan Karanja, that in every job, even for me to sit here, there are some requirements that I had to meet before I was allowed to sit here and do what I do, and in every job. So if you don't have the requirements, why are you applying for this job? Jevan.
Miriam, very much. And I know the fact that this is a position. And Miriam, there's a slogan that is going around saying that I thief, my choice. If I choose to elect a thief, that is my choice. And now they are saying, if I choose to elect a dropout, that is their choice, Miriam. Therefore, the burden of consequences, Miriam, should be carried by Kenyans who feel like they need to elect these academic dwarfs to represent them. Because if they feel that is the way to go, then that is upon them. But Miriam, I agree, we need a qualification, because you cannot just wake one day and decide to be anybody in a company. Because when you go to the corporate world, I think this is where these kind of qualification are followed to the letter. But I think in our politics, Miriam, anybody goes around and they buy these certificates, and when they present them there, and when the investigation is done, Miriam, because of the power of money in their pocket, they end up even corrupting everyone who is vetting them, and they end up running for this position. When you look at the governor of Taita Taveta, he does not even speak in political rallies in English. He uses his prowess in Swahili. And I don't know how he operates things in Taita Taveta. But when you see the ground, Miriam, he has a huge following. Therefore, we need now to distinguish between these guys who are very good mobilizers at the ground. They are very influential, but they don't have the capacity in terms of academic to lead. I think that is where we are getting it wrong, because in this country, we go for popular candidates. We don't go and look for guys who can articulate issues, who can registrate, and who can make good bills. We just look for anybody who is popular. And I think this populist politics in this country is what has caused us the mess of where we are. Because, Miriam, these members of parliament, they need to up their game. They have been given 10 years to go and study, to go and get these papers. The MCAs, they need to go. They have been given this leeway of 10 years, Miriam, to go and style up their academic papers so that they can be competent based in terms of academic and in terms of representation. But they fail to do that. Therefore, Miriam, if it's about this issue, Miriam, we need to deal with it once and for all. And if it's a law, Miriam, if it's about abolishing it completely, let it be the case, or making it a law and retain it as it is. But these things of giving them leeway every time we head to a general election, this should not be the case. We need to have a conclusive arrangement on this issue, Miriam. It should not be an issue of a gain, Miriam. We need to deal with this issue once for all. But what Murkomen is saying, Miriam, he is being petty, Miriam. Reading and writing, Miriam, should not qualify you to be a leader.
My son
you
can do
read
that.
and write.
My son can write and read very, very well, I think, and comprehend also. But that is really a bare minimum.
Yeah, Miriam.
Yes.
If we have a qualification that makes you a voter, there is a qualification that you must have for you to go and vote. You must be of sound mind. You must be 18 years and above. And you must make that decision, Miriam. Why should we give the guys that we are voting in a leeway and just be anybody? That should not be the case. If a voter have a qualification, also the one who is seeking to be elected should have a minimum qualification. But what I was saying on the issue of degree, a mere degree should not be a qualification, Miriam. We need to have, and this is what I'm saying, we need to have a training, Miriam, on basics law, on some finances, communication skills for these guys who are seeking this elective position, so that they can be able to understand their legislative roles in depth, in a depth, without really depending on what they did to school. Because we have variety of professionals, Miriam, and they cannot all subscribe to the legal field or the economic aspects, but they need that training so that they can up their game. To me, that is what I'm saying. But when it comes to qualification, we need to have a minimum requirement, a minimum threshold for you to seek elective position. That should not be negotiable. We must make decision for these Kenyans, because they are Kenyans who think that anybody who is popular needs to be a politician. That should not be the case. They need to go and study and come back. And Miriam, if it's about abolishing this rule, Miriam, and we say anybody can run for office, then we can say anyone can vote. Thank you. All
right. Thank you so much. Yes, School of Government. Wanafunzanga nini huko? They should create a curriculum. Wanafanya workshops, wanafunzwa how to oversight on these very important roles that they have. Otherwise, we divorce those roles from them, as Professor had proposed there earlier. Now, Wanjiku should be allowed to exercise the discretion of choosing leaders and sovereignty freely. It cannot be allowed that leadership will be the preserve of 3.5% of our population who are graduates, said the embattled Nyandarua County Assembly Speaker. MPs on Tuesday, that is Tuesday last week, disowned MCAs, MPs disowned MCAs, insisting the provision would improve legislation and oversight. So MPs are telling them, hey, you stop, go to school. Dr. Joseph Njama.
Thank you, Miriam. First of all, I need to agree with both Professor Nyari and Karanja for one reason. A mere degree it's just a basic requirement. There has to be continual empowerment to sharpen the skills of the legislators on various aspects of their legislative agenda and mandate. So the degree per se, by the way, does not give you competency to execute your mandate as a representative. There has to be further programs to sharpen various skills of members of parliament to be able to effectively participate in various committees, because it is through committees that the quality debates, all laws are executed. So the additional, like Kenya School of Government, if the other programs must be introduced, are those that now will sharpen various skills of various of members of parliament on different committees. Because in parliament, there are different committees. That one, there is no dispute about it. Number two, you asked Miriam about the deputy president and Murkomen bringing an amendment to dilute the requirement, which is basic, really. How do you dilute a basic requirement? Let me be honest. For the first time with the deputy president of the republic, he needs to be honest. He is lying. He is only interested to massage people so that they vote for him. I am telling you, Miriam, he knows members of parliament needs a basic degree as a starting point. But because he is so selfish, wants to be the president, he wants to massage various prospective MCA because they are the ones, the grassroots. Ndio waseme huyu ndio mtu stood with us. That is not being patriotic. A patriotic person is a person who's honest, who says, if this nation must go beyond the current status, we must come up with quality leaders. Miriam, let me tell you something. Parliament is an institution. And let me tell you, there is no vision. No organization can outgrow the visions of a leader. So if you have mediocre people in an institution, that is the level. So, my take is this. Let the deputy president rethink and put the nation above his interests. He needs to be honest. He's massaging those people. There's no question about it. They talked about it. They said, you now go and now let's work with them so that they see we are with them and they vote for us. It's only votes you want. We want a quality nation. In fact, Miriam, I was reading a UNESCO article. It says to be educated is to gain a voice and participate meaningfully in decisions that affect your life and the people you lead. End of quote. It went further to say, to be uneducated is to be disempowered. And if you are disempowered, you disempower further the people you lead if you are a leader. What a tragedy. These people want to bring it to the republic. Miriam, I want you as a journalist, you want to do research. Check the kind of debates in parliament. Those who don't have degrees as a basic requirement, they only discuss about the people. They never discuss issues. Just check. Corrupted, Miriam, you are a journalist. You'll be shocked.
Okay.
Let her disapprove this theory that people have a sovereign right to choose. No. They must be guided on who to choose, because this nation needs to be led by quality leaders. I submit, Miriam.
Okay, Dr. Joseph
Miriam.
Nyantoma there. And he has given me some homework.
Will you allow me to step out?
All right.
But having said this one, because I need to teach now.
Okay, Professor, go ahead.
Because even my fellow panelists, I have not seen someone who has taken me over, who can take me head on. I am saying, Miriam, the member of parliament and the member of our county assembly.
We apologize.
Yeah.
Sorry.
The member. Are we together?
Just hold on. We seem to be having a bit of a hitch there from Dr. Nyanchama. So let us take care of that, and then Professor.
I want to make this quick remark, and then we go on. I want us to Javan. The next time we will take representation, and Douglas will take to make laws.
Okay.
I want to deal with the word oversight, and that's why I want Javan. What the meaning of the word oversight? To oversight refers to make to take actions in terms of what? To review. To review what? And monitor public sector organization and their policies. What is a policy? It's a plan of action. You must be able to understand programs. You must be able to understand a project, Miriam. You cannot be able to understand this one without a certain level of education. I have listened very carefully saying that you have this. Douglas, don't shy away of saying that if you have to be a member of parliament, you have to be a Form 4 with a D+ or a D-. We must have qualification, Miriam. Then, this project is to ensure that they are achieving expected results. When you are oversighting, are we on course? You are monitoring these programs so that the Kenyans who you represent get value for their money. We are taxpayers. We can't be paying like now. Javan is paid Douglas. We talk about Kimorara and Arrow down, Miriam. Do we have value for our money? 63 billion going. We have got members of parliament, and they are not even annoyed. What are they oversighting? Then you go on to say that you represent good value for the money. Pesos our Kenya citizens are your county. Are they being utilized very properly? Where are the members of the county assembly? When the governor takes 30 security guards, these are some of the hard questions. Is that affordable money for the people of Nairobi? Or from wherever you are coming from? Then you go out and then you ensure there is compliance with applicable policies. If you don't understand, you don't have a certain level of education, Javan, and Douglas, and Dr. Nyanchama, and Miriam, you may not be able to understand the law. Which law says this? I am telling you, Miriam, for heaven's sake, and I'm not lying. Heaven bears me witness. These laws was meant by members of parliament in 2011, 2012 there. Some in this parliament, there were those who went to school, and those who did not go to school. There are those who go to parliament. Joseph, let me just shock you. They just go to the committees and they sign their attendance sheet and they work. Merely so that they get money at the end. Is that the value for the money of them? We have regulations running various organizations, Miriam. Miriam, we must have ethical standards, Miriam. So on this oversight role, if we don't want them to have certain level of education, I am persuading all of you, join me. We expand that one from our constitution and give that role to someone else.
Who will be who?
But so long as that one is there, tusidanganyane. I can be persuaded that 2020, Miriam, you know, I teach. I've taught some of these MCS, and I have assisted them properly in class that encouraging them, you can make it and you can do it. And some of them have graduated. I'm happy. I thought one of the women, was it the women rep for Laikipia, Nani, was my student. Alikuwa mama tulisukumana, lakini eventually she made it. What point I'm trying to say, Miriam? 2020 was not a good year. And sure, if someone had expected and it has been disrupted, Miriam, then we can negotiate with all human beings and say that this coronavirus, there were some people had made an effort. They wanted to graduate and they could have graduated, Miriam. Then from there we can have a conversation. You are a candidate and you could have graduated. if it could have been covered, COVID-19, 19. That is how we want to take our progress to start. We don't want to punish our people. And if we are saying, if we were able to have it from 2010, 2017, and if seriously, Miriam, we can see an effort, there's no harm. We can agree, yes, this is a very serious office. Let us even make it to 20, if we can make, we have made it from 2010 to 2021, we can still give them a window. But in principle, Miriam, if you oversight, you must attain a certain level of qualification.
All right. Thank you so much. And there's an old newspaper, news story in one of the newspapers here about a story about Tharaka Nithi. MCAs ask for expert to interpret document. The Tharaka Nithi County Assembly has lamented its inability to interpret financial documents and asked for a financial analyst to be hired to help them avoid adopting flawed documents. Speaking during a discussion of a supplementary budget, Majority Leader and Karigani Ward Representative Godfrey Murithi said the analyst will take them through the financial documents before they are tabled in the Assembly. Sasa unaona, have to bring in experts to help them understand those oversight. Anyway, Douglas, you wanted to say something?
Miriam, Professor is treating me as if I'm supporting people who are not quite good. No, Professor, no. I'm one of those people who are saying we weren't properly represented for over 3 years in the County Assembly of Meru. Why? Because our MCA could not be able to carry a mandate properly. One, for us to be able to be properly represented in the County Assembly of Meru, we need our MCA to fully participate in the House and in the committees and all that. Apart from having a sweet mouth and also having a sweet tongue and also having to dress well and speaking to ministers in favorable terms, you should be able to properly represent your people.
Yes.
We have one of our women reps in Meru. She has not raised a statement in the National Assembly. I think the last time I checked, we were 3. There are so many representational issues that we need her to be able to represent in the National Assembly, speak for and behalf of the welfare of the people. But there is one critical issue that I have a problem with. I have a problem with even educated people themselves have a problem with interpretation of these documents and also their roles in Parliament. Because I've seen doctors, I've seen PhD holders in the county assemblies. I go around the county assemblies in Nairobi or in Meru, and I also find people who cannot be able to properly articulate issues concerning their wards, whether in the city or in the village. I've seen people who cannot be able to speak of a particular issue. They are waiting for their good English to speak and say, I vote yes. And my problem is the kind of exposure, the kind of induction that happens for these people, that whatever professor is calling a refresher course is not a refresher course. Because at the end of the day, when you go to the school of government, you are taught properly on administration and all that. My father went through their programs for so many years, and I know they are very sound. And I know that the administrators that go through those programs are very sound, even in their judgment and also their core of duty, and also the way they carry their mandate. And these members of parliament and county assemblies and senators need proper induction and these courses from school of government to properly ground them for their representational oversight and also registrational roles. Because Miriam, we need to make it very clear that this, at the end of the day, it's not a degree, it's not a PhD, it's how properly are you equipped for the work that you are going to do. I have had people who are my friends, who are my colleagues, or even people that I went to school with, who have been given opportunities and tagged opportunities or ran away from work because they cannot properly execute their mandate or properly execute their work. I've seen journalists who cannot sit on the hot seat that you are in this morning, Miriam, this afternoon, Miriam, because they cannot properly carry out research. They cannot properly carry their journalism work. They cannot properly carry out their media work because they are not properly equipped. What I'm talking about is capacity building. What I'm talking about is equipping for these members of parliament. I want to ask you a question. Do you feel the pain that I feel when our people are improperly represented for 3 years and they don't know Do you feel the pain that I feel like Douglas Kirimi, that my people have been unrepresented for over 4 years now in the County Assembly of Meru? Our MCA was a rubber stamp for the governor. The only thing she would do is, I vote yes. Yes. And that yes did not translate into anything meaningful for the people that sent her to the County Assembly of Meru. We need proper representation, and you cannot do proper representation for the people without proper equipping, proper capacity building. And at the end of the day, I have had people in the County Assembly of Meru with the doctorates, with the PhDs, who cannot stand and save their people, even for a single minute. I asked one of my friends, I wrote them an SMS. I asked him, Doctor, why are you not speaking over the issues in the County Assembly of Meru that are bedeviling your people? And he said, those are grand issues and those are issues I cannot be able to speak about. The county government of Meru has a minister for lands. The county government has a connection with the national government. You raise a statement in the County Assembly of Meru, from the floor of the house to the minister, from the minister to Nairobi, and then the president himself. If he has to intervene, they intervene. But they cannot do those things if you are not properly equipped. Professor, this is my issue. My issue is proper equipping of our members of parliament. I have women reps all over the country with proper education, but not properly adored or properly equipped to be able to carry their roles. Our women rep cannot speak in the National Assembly to save us. And she says she has 4 degrees. She wants to run for governor. She wants to run for Governor Miriam. Hey. And at the end of the day, she cannot represent us. That is my problem. Yes.
It's sensitive to me. It's not only women rep. Huh? Sini water too.
Yes, Miriam. What? Says what?
Genders.
Yes, Miriam. If you're not properly equipped for a role, if you are a professor and you are not able to competitively carry your role like Professor Jared Onyari, you are lost and you are going to lose a lot of people away. And at the end of the day, these members of parliament need to be properly equipped, Miriam.
I hear you. I hear you. Thank you. Yes, as we end, Javen.
I gave you presentation.
Miriam, the problem that we have, and the reason why Kenyans go vote, they only vote for representative. A representative can be anybody. A representative can be any mad person, provided he is representing you. But when it comes to registration, when it comes to oversight, Miriam, I think that is where we get it wrong, because we go for anybody. Waititu was a good. He was representing the people of Kiambu, and physically, and spiritually, and emotionally, he was representing them. But in terms of registration, in terms of governance, in terms of service delivery, he didn't represent them. That is where they went wrong. Therefore, we need to get somebody who represent us, because that is the work of member of parliament, who registrate on our behalf, and who will go to oversight. If we reduce the work of an MCA, the work of a member of parliament, to be that of representation, Miriam, then we can get anyone. But when it comes to legislation, Miriam, I think we need basic understanding of the law. We need someone who has gone to school and somebody who can debate with other intellectuals in the floor of parliament. But in representation, Miriam, if you want to get someone to represent you in a chama, in a circle, you don't go for, you can just say, Mr. Flani, you will go and represent us. You represent us in that Harambe. You represent us in that barrio. Because that is the representation. You are just there because you have been given mandate by the people. And that is what Kenyans do. They elect Javan Karanja as their member of parliament to go and represent. You know, even as Kenyans, we are ignorant to some extent. We don't know that other roles, we don't know the roles of a member of parliament. We just feel like MCA for Nyeri Town, MP for Nyeri Town is just representing us. But we don't know that we have committees, we have other budget allocations, mandate, and other things. Therefore, Miriam will let us understand that the oversight role, I think that is where we need this qualification. But if it's just a mere representation, Miriam, then even a class 8 dropout can represent our village, provided he has the finances and he has the ability to write and speak, as Murkomen says. Right. Therefore, on the bill and what Murkomen is saying, he is talking on the issue of representation. Right. That is where he feels like you need to write and read so that you can go and represent. But the oversight, Miriam, you need other basics. And that is why I'm talking of an added advantage in form of going to school for an extra course where you can be trained on how to write, a basic law, finances, and other things. Thank you.
After you've acquired that, yes.
Just a moment. Jivan,
we have to end.
I hear you.
You had your moment.
Jivan, I hear you. But representation not properly carrying out representational roles. Representation goes beyond having a man with a nice suit like my own and also getting them to the county assembly of Meru.
Right.
Not properly carrying out representational roles. That's where the problem is. You can be called a professor, but we see professor in class every day, representing the title Professor Jared Onyari. The carrying out of the role of a professor, that is where his proficiency finds color and dignity.
Right.
At the end of the day, representation of Jivan is wide. And at the end of the day, it is not only waking up and going to the county assembly of Meru, it is properly carrying out the role of representation.
I think
I've explained
Jivan are saying the same thing. I don't think you're saying the same.
I miss you guys. Thank you.
All right, thank you. But Dr. Nyanchama, could you end the show for us? So, please.
Douglas need to start from defining the word representation.
Yeah. That's why we have a professor here. Kesho atatupeleka kwa class alafu atatuambia. Dr. Nyanchama.
Thank you, Miriam. For me, my fellow panelists, you, Miriam, through you, we need to make the humble request that education is key for decision making. And for those listening to this TV, borrowing from UNESCO, to be educated is to gain a voice so that you participate meaningfully on your behalf and on behalf of the people you represent, if there are any. The discussion now in Kenya at this moment is whether a member of parliament should have a degree or not. In fact, our view, which have been corroborated by the panelists, is that the degree, even being so talked about, should be a basic requirement. There are many more other skills that they should need to acquire to be able to legislate effectively. So Kenya, as one of the countries of the continent, because this TV is founded on a philosophy of Pan-Africanism, we must begin from our country to put the country as effective threshold. Any person who is trying to say that any person can represent is to miss the point. We can only appeal, Miriam, we have discussed, and the listeners have heard, they need to design this discussion. And I know they are going to be persuaded, Miriam. For now, I wish to thank my fellow panelists for the in-depth discussion. And let's keep the fire burning. Let's persuade them, sir and madam, so that we put our country at the top. For now, Miriam, I submit.
Thank you so much, Dr. Joseph Nyanchama, Professor Jared Onyari, Jevan Karanja, and Douglas Kirimi. Young people out there, if you have a chance to go to school, go to school. Go to school. Education is very important. All right? Thank you for watching. My name is Miriam Mogutu. Enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you back here at 3 p.m. with more news from across the continent of Africa.
Peace must be our goal and our guide. And all that we strive for as a human family, dignity and hope, progress and prosperity, depends on peace. But peace depends on us.